How's it going, my peeps? It is now time for the Raw results / highlights and review video. I'll go over the results, some of the highlights in my opinion, and give you guys my thoughts, my review on the show. So it kicks off with the big show and Bray Wyatt coming out, Bray Wyatt being the guest host of Raw. And I don't know, I thought they stopped doing the guest host thing. I guess they're bringing it back like from time to time. But anyways, Big Show asks Bray Wyatt what she's gonna do tonight, and she says she's here to kick some ass. And then Triple H's music hits. He comes out with Stephanie Mcmahon. Stephanie McMahon hugs Bray Wyatt. Triple H and Big Show kind of have a stare down, but then Triple H and Stephanie walk down the ring. They go inside the ring. They talk about how Daniel Bryan beat Randy and how they said they were going to reconsider who the face is. That while they did say they might reconsider Daniel Bryan as a face, they're also reconsidering maybe Sheamus, John Cena, Christian, and Tony Cesaro, basically Randy's chamber opponents. Anyways, Randy interrupts. He comes out. At first, it seems like he's going to yell at the authority or, complain, but he actually apologizes for his actions, for questioning them. And eventually, Daniel Bryan interrupts, and he pokes fun of Randy being the face, and he also talks about Kane, and Kane chokeslamming him on Raw last time, and also on SmackDown. And also, they say that they don't approve of Kane's actions, and that he's on a leave of absence for a week. Daniel Bryan wanted him in the matchup, but that's when they said he's not here. And Triple H announces, after Daniel Bryan says that Stephanie McMahon is arrogant and Triple H is stupid, Triple H announces that Daniel Bryan will be taking on, he's hyping up like a matchup, he's like, tonight, Daniel Bryan will be taking on, and then he says no one, because he says that's what's best for business tonight, and he gives Daniel Bryan a night off. And after that, the first matchup was the Wyatt Family versus Rey Mysterio, Cody, Rhodes, and Goldust. And man, what an ending to this matchup. See, Rey Mysterio went for 2 619s in this match. He connected with the first one, and then when he went for a springboard splash, or, to follow up with the 619, Bray Wyatt took him off the apron. But then the second time around, Rey sets up Luke Harper in the second ropes for the 619, and before he could bounce off the opposite ropes, Bray Wyatt tags himself in without Rey seeing, goes inside the ring, runs towards Rey, and quickly, and I mean really quickly, hits Sister Abigail. There wasn't any, stalling or Bray Wyatt just waiting there with Rey Mysterio in position for Sister Abigail. He just grabs Rey Mysterio, hits Sister Abigail like almost instantly, and covers Rey Mysterio, wins the match. A pretty cool ending, out of nowhere. And after the match, Bray Wyatt sits on his rocking chair, cuts a promo on the Shield, saying that the Shield will fall just in time for his next game, which I'm thinking is a game involving John Cena. Anyways, after that, you get a replay of Roman Reigns' performance at the Rumble, him eliminating 12 superstars. And then you see the Shield, they were watching that. Renee Young interviews them about what the Wyatts, said about them. And Reigns says, actions speak louder than words. And Seth Rollins talks about how the Wyatt family speaks in riddles, while the Shield speaks in absolutes. Dean Ambrose says, and just like how we'll absolutely destroy the Wyatt family at the Elimination Chamber. And then Renee Young asks Dean Ambrose, or tells him, people have been talking about how you haven't been defending the United States Champion, or the United States Championship, I mean. And Dean Ambrose goes on to talk about how nobody wants to step up, and he tells Renee Young, do you know how much paperwork it is? And then Reigns asks Dean Ambrose, come on, man, what kind of champion do you want to be? And then Dean Ambrose in response says, you know what, tonight he's going to set out an open challenge, and whoever wants to challenge him for the championship can, challenge him for that title, face off against him for the championship. And then backstage they show Bray Wyatt talking with all the divas, and then the New Age Outlaws come up to Bray Wyatt, and they say, we heard you like drinking tea. She says she does like drinking tea, so they leave with Bray Wyatt to go drink some tea. After that, it is Santino Marella versus Fandango, and Emma was at ringside with Santino, and of course Summer Rae was at ringside with Fandango. The match ended when Fandango was climbing up the top turnbuckle to go for the leg drop, And then all of a sudden, Santino kips up, and I'm thinking he's gonna, take Fandango off the top turnbuckle. He tries to do that, he attempts to do that, but Fandango just punches him, and Santino falls back down. Fandango follows that up with the leg drop, and wins the match. And then after that match, you have an interview with Sheamus, who was Byron Saxton actually doing the interviewing this time. And he asks Sheamus about the matchup. He talks about the matchup, teaming up with Christian and how they've been bitter enemies in the past and also friends. But he's always respected him as an in-ring competitor. And he goes on to talk about how the Elimination Chamber is like the last chance to headline WrestleMania. And at the Elimination Chamber, he's going to win the Chamber match and become the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. After that, Christian comes out for the matchup, followed by Sheamus and then the Real Americans. And Zeb Coulter talks about how, before the matchup, cuts a promo, talking about Christian and Sheamus, being away, licking their wounds, and then sneaking their way back in the country, and then being rewarded with shots to, or a shot to become, the World Heavyweight Champion. Then gives the microphone to Antonio Cesaro, who says, but that doesn't matter because at the Chamber, for the first time ever, a real American will win the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. But anyways, the matchup. It was a pretty entertaining match, and part of the reason also was the crowd was great for this matchup. They were really excited. Especially when Cesaro would be in the matchup, they were cheering Cesaro like the entire time. He also he hit the swing on Christian, and he kind of threw him outside the ring, or close to outside the ring. Christian rolled out the ring, and then the referee was counting Christian out, 1, 2, 3, 4, and he went up to 9. And at some point, I even thought maybe Christian was gonna get counted out, because when he said 9, Christian was like still laying on the floor, but then all of a sudden he quickly gets up and runs into the ring. So that was a pretty close to a 10 count, the closest I've seen. But anyways, eventually Christian gets a tag, or actually he tags in Sheamus. Sheamus gets in, and towards the end of the match, Jack Swagger locks in the Patriot Lock on Sheamus, and Christian, he climbs up the top turnbuckle, hits a crossbody on Jack Swagger, and then he goes on the apron and hits a tornado DDT from the apron onto Antonio Cesaro, who was on the outside of the ring. And then Sheamus hits the Brogue Kick on Swagger inside the ring, covers him, and Sheamus and Christian win the match. After that match, Renee Young interviews John Cena, who talks about the Elimination Chamber and also how he's going to win the matchup, and talks about how he's also going to end the feud with Randy tonight and win his matchup too. And then following that, it was Dolph Ziggler versus Del Rio. Dolph didn't even get like his full entrance. He didn't get to do his full entrance before his music cut off, and then Del Rio's music hit. And man, the matchup was so short. It was pretty much a squash match where Del Rio beat Dolph Ziggler in like under 2 minutes maybe. And Ziggler hit his, signature elbow drops. But shortly after, Del Rio hits the super kick on Dolph Ziggler and picks up the victory. After the match, he locks in the cross armbreaker on Dolph. Dolph is tapping out, and then Batista's music hits. He comes in for the save. He hits a spear on Del Rio as soon as he gets in the ring. And then he takes Del Rio to the outside, throws him onto the barricade, takes off everything off the announcer's table, and then he hits a Batista bomb through the announcer's table on Del Rio. After that, he grabs one of the monitors they have on the announcer's table, kind of like he's thinking about hitting Del Rio with it, but he decides to just throw it away and leave. Afterwards, backstage, Triple H catches up with Batista, and he tells him he can't be doing that, and things have changed around here. You can't just go around and attack people like that. And he makes a matchup, Batista versus Del Rio. And in the end, Triple H says he's just trying to look out for Batista. And Batista says, I can see things have changed around here. Following that, they actually announced Lita for the 2014 Hall of Fame. So far, the 2014 Hall of Fame class looks freaking awesome. It's a cool Hall of Fame. The Ultimate Warrior, the Ultimate Warrior, Jake the Snake. I was going to say Jack Swagger. I don't know why. And Lita. Following that announcement, they had they showed Betty White backstage with the New Age Outlaws. They're about to drink some tea, and you see Road Dogg pour some tea. They have 3 cups. He pours some tea in each one of the cups, and it looks like he puts something in Betty White's cup. And then, you know, they want to drink, but Betty White says, "Oh, but you know, she likes lemons with her tea." So they both go get her some lemons, and while they do that, she quickly switches out her cup with Billy Gunn's cup. And once they come back, she like, you know, grabs a lemon and squeezes it on the tea, and then she looks at Billy Gunn drinking his tea. And after that, it was a tag team match, the Usos versus Ryback. And on commentary was Billy Gunn and Road Dogg. And during the entire match, Billy Gunn was like holding his stomach and, you know, burping. And I like the ending of this match, just like with any tag team matchup involving the Usos. They always find a cool way to end the matchup. You had one of the Usos freaking hit actually not a suicide dive, but, you know, run and jump over the top rope onto the outside, onto Ryback. And while he was doing that, right before, like, surpassing the ropes, he tags in at the same time his brother, his twin, the other Uso, who climbs up the top turnbuckle and hits a splash on Curtis Axel for the 3 count. They won the match. After the match, it seems like Road Dogg and Billy Gunn are going to go inside the ring or something like that to have a face-off with the Usos, but Billy Gunn runs off, holding his ass and running towards the back, like he needs to take a dump or something like that. Afterwards, it was Dean Ambrose and his open challenge, and Mark Henry ends up being the one answering the challenge. He comes out for the matchup, and it looked like Mark Henry was going to win the United States Championship. Dean Ambrose went for his finisher, the headlock driver, but Mark Henry countered, and then he hit the World's Strongest Slam, covers him, but then Seth Rollins gets in the ring and attacks Mark Henry, which causes a disqualification, so Henry wins, but by disqualification, so Ambrose is still United States Champion. So then the Shield, you know, attack Mark Henry, but Mark Henry throws them all out of the ring. But then once he gets on the outside of the ring, Seth Rollins jumps on his back. Mark Henry takes him off, but then when he turns around, Reigns spears Mark Henry. And then the Shield is about to leave, but then the Wyatt family appear on the Titantron. And as usual, Bray Wyatt says, "We're here." They make their entrance. The Shield now go back inside the ring, awaiting the Wyatt family. The Wyatt family get on the apron. Reigns gets inside the ring while Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins are still on the apron. And then Bray Wyatt, like, pretends like he's about to go inside the ring and fight, but he just peeks his head in, or, you know, his upper body in the ring, but then he gets off the apron, as well as Eric and Luke Harper, and they don't fight. Following that, it was a Divas matchup, a tag team match. It was Cameron and the Bell Twins, I believe, versus Oksana, Alicia Fox, and AJ. Naomi wasn't in the matchup due to her eye injury from last week, and Cameron ended up winning the matchup for her team with a DDT. I guess that's her new finisher, because Michael Cole pointed out that she calls that girl bi. So she hits the finisher, the DDT, on Oksana, and wins the matchup for her team. And then later on, Kane comes out, and I was thinking, you know, I thought Kane wasn't going to be there, but anyways, he talks about his 1 week of administrative leave, or whatever it's called, and he doesn't get to talk too much until Daniel Bryan interrupts him, runs down to the ring, and starts attacking Kane. Kane uppercuts him. It looks like he's going to go for a choke slam, but Daniel Bryan counters. Kane then charges Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan is like right in front of the ropes, so he pulls down the ropes. Kane falls to the outside. Daniel Bryan hits a suicide dive on Kane, and then he hits a missile drop kick on Kane, sending him to the crowd, or inside the crowd. Kane then just gets out of there. Daniel Bryan gets in the ring and starts chanting yes with the crowd. And that was it for that. And then Betty White thanked the fans, and she introduced the main event, or said it was time for the main event. So John Cena comes out first, followed by Randy. And you know what? I thought they had a pretty decent match. They did hit a couple finishers. Randy hit the RKO. At some point, John Cena was going for the Attitude Adjustment, but Randy countered that and followed it up with an RKO. And Cena kicked out. And then at another point, I think it was a few moments afterwards, Cena actually hits the Attitude Adjustment, but also Randy kicks out. Now, what I really liked in this matchup is Randy's reaction to the crowd, because the crowd wasn't liking this match, or the majority of them. They were chanting boring, and they were also chanting same old shit, same old shit. So what Randy does, and I find Randy does this often, where he reacts to the crowd, and I don't know if it's, just Randy the character, or Randy Orton himself, getting pissed at this, but during the match, when they were chanting same old shit, what Randy does is he hits the DDT, but instead of hitting it from the usual spot where, the person is in between the second and top rope, he had John Cena on the top turnbuckle, and he hit the DDT from there. And then right after he hit it, he goes over next to the ropes, and he starts yelling at the crowd. He's like, "I've never done that before, so it's not the same old shit." Well, actually, he doesn't say shit, but he gets close to it. He's like, "It's not the same old and then he, stops. I don't know, I like that part of the matchup, but, yeah, and also John Cena tried to go for an Attitude Adjustment from the top turnbuckle. That was actually towards the end of the match. So he tries to go for the top turnbuckle Attitude Adjustment, or second rope Attitude Adjustment. But Randy kind of fights out of it, but John Cena eventually takes Randy off the turnbuckle, and then he hits the top rope Faymacer, or leg drop, onto Randy. Randy gets up right afterwards, setting up for the Attitude Adjustment. Cena sets it up, hits it, covers Randy, and at that point you're like, alright, the match is probably over. And yeah, John Cena wins the matchup, and he celebrates afterwards, and that was it for the show. So what did I think about Raw tonight? Any highlights? As far as highlights go, I really liked the tag team match involving Sheamus Christian versus the Real Americans. I thought it was a nice match. It was an entertaining match, and part of it being so entertaining was the crowd being so into it. The crowd, plays a big part, I feel, in, a match, just like the atmosphere of the match. I mean, see, the crowd while the crowd seemed to not like the main event, and, some were chanting boring and same old shit, I liked the main event. I thought it was a decent match, and I wasn't looking forward really to the main event going into it. I was like, come on, John Cena versus Randy again. We've seen this so many times, and it's usually the same where, Randy will hit a finisher, John Cena will hit a finisher, they'll kick out. Eventually, one of them wins, as with any match, one of them wins. But, it wasn't a match I was necessarily looking forward to, because we've seen it, like I said, so many times, and we just recently saw it too. But I ended up liking the match. Also, when Dean Ambrose announced his open challenge, I was thinking actually Biggie Langston would answer the open challenge at first, thinking maybe they would unify the titles, make it a surprise, and Biggie Langston wins the championship on Raw, and he's now the IC and US champion. Then I thought about it, I was like, oh, but wait a minute, Mark Henry's supposed to be returning, and I don't think Brock Lesnar's going to be on the show tonight. So then I was like, no, you know what, I'm thinking it's going to be Henry versus Dean Ambrose, and if it happens to not be Henry, then it might be Biggie Langston. And I was right, it ended up being Mark Henry, and when he hit the World's Strongest Slam, I was thinking, oh, is this over? But no, actually, Seth Rollins, interrupted it. But the thing is, now with the Shields having a matchup at the Elimination Chamber already, the Wyatt Family versus the Shields, and Mark Henry getting a non-title victory, or actually a title victory, but by disqualification against Dean Ambrose in this type of fashion, I don't know when Mark Henry's going to get a rematch, if he is going to get a rematch, because I don't think it's going to happen at Elimination Chamber, seeing as how they already have a match, or Dean Ambrose is already involved in the match. I don't think he's going to be competing twice, you know, defending the U.S. Championship and also fighting off the Shield, or fighting off the Wyatts. And also, what else did I want to talk about? Oh yeah, kind of the same situation too, Daniel Bryan and Kane. With Kane targeting Daniel Bryan, him and Daniel Bryan fighting, him chokeslamming Daniel Bryan both on Raw and SmackDown, and now Daniel Bryan fighting back. Daniel Bryan also already has a matchup at the Elimination Chamber. He's involved in the Elimination Chamber matchup. So, as far as that goes, I'm also wondering if Daniel Bryan and Kane are going to have a matchup, which I think they will at some point. When is that going to take place? Once again, just like the Shield situation, I don't think it's going to happen at the Elimination Chamber because he already is in a matchup. Nor do I think it's going to be Daniel Bryan versus Kane at WrestleMania. So I'm thinking Daniel Bryan versus Kane happens either before the Elimination Chamber or shortly after on an episode of Raw. And I think that's pretty much all I gotta say. Highlights, man, Randy snapping, saying, you know, I've never done that before, so it's not the same old shit. And also, the tag team match, Sheamus and Christian versus the Shields. I wonder if we'll see the Wyatt family and the Shields, you know, fight before the Elimination Chamber. I wouldn't be surprised if they don't fight at all until the Elimination Chamber, so they can save that for then, and just have them maybe cut promos on each other. Or, you know, you could have like the Raw before the Elimination Chamber, they brawl, and the show closes out with both the Shield and the Wyatt family fighting. And also, when it comes to the Batista Del Rio feud, I like the segment this week to continue their feud, their storyline. It was nice and simple. Batista, you know, coming out for the save, taking down Del Rio, and Batista bombing him through the announcer's table. So Batista this time getting the upper hand. And, well, he did get the upper hand last week, but Del Rio got out of the way, or ran away this time. Batista powerbombing him through the table. And, you know, the backstage segment with Triple H telling him he can't do that anymore. Batista telling him, you know, things that have changed around here. This might be like the start of, I guess, tension between Triple H and Batista, because so far Triple H was kind of in support of both Randy the champion and, you know, the challenger at WrestleMania, Batista. So that is pretty much all I got to say. Overall, I enjoyed Raw tonight. I'd give it a solid 7.5, or actually maybe even 8, 7.5 to 8 on 10. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, as always, you can click that like button down below. With that said, you can expect some more online matches from me this week, and yeah, I'm out, guys. See ya.